Jean Baudrillard is a French sociologist and philosopher. He is a key thinker in understanding our postmodern, consumer driven world. His work fundamentally questions our ability to distinguish reality from its copies and representations. He argues that mass consumption has created a new social environment dominated by objects and their symbolic meanings. In this system, we relate to objects not through their practical use, but through a network of cultural signs and associations created by advertising. Consequently, an object's use value has been largely replaced by its exchange value, or more importantly, its symbolic value. So, we are going to understand the work by Baudrillard, that is Simulacra and Simulation. This is one of the most complex works by the thinker, and it might take us time to understand the complexities and incomprehensibility in this work. So, let us understand the meaning of the terms simulacra and simulation. Simulacra as a copy. It is a copy that has no original. This is very interesting. Simulacra is a copy that has no original. It's not a copy of something real. It's a copy of another copy. It's a copy of copy, which was a copy of another copy until all connections to reality is lost. So, what Baudrillard trying to say, he says that real thing transforms into simulacrum. Simulacrum, it is singular, simulacra is plural. So he said that real thing transform into simulacrum using something we all use every day. For example, money. This transition shows how we moved from value based on physical reality to a world of pure simulation, that is the environment or the system that creates simulacra. He is trying to explain the very concept of simulacrum by giving the examples and the stages how the real thing turns into copy, and then copy ultimately loses its touch with a real thing. The first stage of simulacra or simulacrum is the reflection, that is the good copy. In this stage, the representation is a faithful reflection of reality. It is a faithful reflection of reality. The reality in case of money, gold coins. The logic. The coin is made of actual gold, or its value is exactly what it is. The sign, the coin, the sign, SIGN, the sign, the coin, and the reality, the gold, are the same thing. Then we come to the second stage, and this is the stage we find the mask, the perversion of reality or distortion of reality. It masks the reality. The representation begins to mask or deform or distort the reality. But the reality is still there. It does not completely lose its touch with reality. The copy or the representation does not completely lose touch with reality. For example, paper money is backed by gold, gold standard. Even if there is paper money, but it is backed by gold, it has the foundation in gold. So it does not completely loses its touch with reality. You hold, for example, 100 rupee note. The paper, the note itself isn't worth 100 rupee because this is just the paper, but it is a sign that points to actual gold in the Reserve Bank of India, for example, what we call gold standard. It masks the reality of the gold, no doubt. It masks the reality of the gold, but the link still exists. The link between a 100 rupee note and gold still exists. And the third stage is the absence, the mask of an absence. The mask of an absence. Now, in the third stage, the representation hides. This is very important to understand. In the third stage, or the third stage of representation, hides the fact that there is no reality. Now, there is exactly no reality, but then in this stage, we find that representation hides this fact, the fact that there is no reality behind it anymore. For example, he is giving the example from the US, the United States of America. In 1971, the US stopped backing dollars with gold. Means it is like, you just produce the paper money, you just produce paper money, and then it is not backed by the gold. Now, in this stage, the paper money doesn't point to anything physical. It is not backed by anything physical, that is the gold. It masks the absence of gold. It completely masks the absence of gold. We behave as if the money is backed by something. We still believe the money is backed by something, but it's actually just backed by shared social belief. Though it is not backed by, for example, gold, but still all people believe that it is backed by gold. It has it has the same value. And the last stage where we come across pure simulacrum, complete total absence of reality, and where we accept that what is not real is real. It is pure simulacrum, what he says hyper-reality. The representation now has no relation to reality whatsoever. It is a truth that exists entirely within its own system. For example, digital currency. Most money today exists only as flickering digits on a bank server or as complex algorithms in crypto. So, crypto is not backed by anything. It has no reality in real sense. Simply, we all people believe something which is not real is real. The best example is cryptocurrency. There is no paper, no gold, and no physical exchange in terms of cryptocurrency. The simulation, the digital code is the only reality that matters. Only reality that matters. We find that in stage 1 there is reality, the goal itself. It is truthful. It is what it says it is. In the second stage, we find the gold in the vault. Gold in the vault or the Reserve Bank, Federal Bank. But at this stage, it is distorted. It represents the gold indirectly. In third stage, gold is gone. Deceptive. It pretends the gold is still there. And in the fourth stage, the digital system, we say it is simulacrum. The system creates its own reality, which in fact is not. Baudrillard argues that we now live almost entirely in stage 4. Whether it's a personal brand on social media, the news we watch, or the food we eat, we are interacting with simulacra that does not have an original real version. Original real version. Now the second concept, we talked about simulacra, that is the copy of copy which is copy of another copy, where reality does not exist, but we believe that it does exist and we accept unreal as real. So this unreal we accept as real is simulacrum. Now the concept of simulation. Simulation is the process. Simulacrum is the thing or the object we accept as real, which is in fact is not real. But simulation, Baudrillard says, is the process or the system. It is the process of the system that creates these copies, that is simulacra. It is the process of the system that creates simulacra and makes us accept them as real. So, simulation creates simulacra that we accept as real, and simulation is that process that makes us accept unreal as real. It is the world of these endless originless copies. It is the world, the environment of these endless originless copies. So simulation is, as he described it, the process of the environment where the real and the fake blur. There is no gap. It is completely blurred. Real and unreal, real and fake, completely blur. Here is how simulation evolves through Baudrillard's 4 stages, using the example of nature. So, just as we have seen 4 stages as far as simulacra are concerned, Here also we have 4 stages of simulation. Here takes the example of nature. The first stage is the reflection, basic representation. Reflection, basic representation. For example, a hand-drawn map of a forest or a realistic landscape painting, or it is the painting of that forest. It is the reflection, or it is the basic representation of the forest in the form of the map drawn with our own hands, or the painting of the forest done by someone. The simulation is helpful tool. In fact, the map is not the forest. It is a clear copy designed to help us navigate the real forest. It is the map. It helps us in some way. If the map is wrong, the forest is still the ultimate truth. Even if we do not draw the painting of the map accurately, but still map real forest does exist. The forest is still the ultimate truth. The second stage again is the mask, distortion of reality. A highly manicured city park, highly manicured city park. The simulation improves upon reality. Try to understand. The simulation improves upon reality means real forest. It's nature. It is still nature, but it has been edited. For example, trees are trimmed, dangerous animals from the forest are removed, and the paths are paved. It distorts what a real wilderness is, but still relies on real trees and grass. The context of Baudrillard's theory, manicured public park, is controlled version of nature. It is the controlled version of nature. The word manicured comes from manicure. It means something that has been carefully trimmed, shaped, and maintained by human hands to look a specific, perfect way. The second stage. This is the second stage of simulation. Baudrillard would say a manicured park is a simulation because it isn't the wild. It isn't the wild, that is original. It is a human made version of what we think nature should look like. It hides the ugly or dangerous parts of nature. There are no swamps, dirt, no rotting carcasses which we find in the forest, no dense thorns, and no unpredictable predators. Every tree is planted in a specific spot for aesthetics. Here the goal isn't to be natural or nature. It's to be a representation of nature that is safe and pleasing for humans to look at. The real world nature turns into now simulation, manicured park. Baudrillard argues that when we go to a manicured park, we aren't going back to nature. We are consuming a sign of nature. It's not actually the real experience. We feel like we have been outdoors, but we have actually just been in a highly designed outdoor room. Highly designed outdoor room. Eventually, we become so used to manicure nature that if we ever went into a real unmanaged forest, we find it messy because it doesn't match the simulation we are used to. The third stage, the absence, pretense of reality. Pretense of reality. In this stage, simulation hides the fact that real is gone. Real is gone. It hides the fact that real is gone. In fact, we have no real at this stage, but this stage hides that fact the real is gone. It means that is still makes us believe that there is real. In this stage, we put animals in natural looking enclosures to pretend that the wild still exists. In reality, the wild has mostly been destroyed by industry. The zoo is a simulation that masks the absence of the actual wilderness. It makes us feel that wilderness is still there, forest is still there, forest is still there. And then comes the fourth stage. It is pure simulation or hyper reality. It is pure simulation, what he calls hyper reality. A VR nature experience, a VR nature experience or 4D wilderness ride at a theme park, artificial experience created by technology. Now the simulation is more real than the real. You feel it. The system makes you feel it. And you also feel that it is more real than the real. The VR forest, the colors are more vibrant, the bird sounds are perfectly clear, and there are no mosquitoes or rain. People begin to prefer the simulation because it is better than nature. Eventually, a definition of forest comes from digital version and not the dirt and trees. Not the dirt and trees. A VR nature experience, as I said earlier, is an immersive digital simulation that uses virtual reality technology to transport us into natural environments like a lush rainforest, a quiet beach, or a snowy mountain peak without you ever leaving your room. It's often used for relaxation, mental health, micro breaks, or by people with limited mobility who want to experience the outdoors.
Welcome to Disneyland, where magic, adventure and nostalgia come together like nowhere else. From thrilling attractions to enchanting experiences, there's something for everyone to enjoy. Whether you're soaring through the skies, exploring immersive lands, or meeting your favorite characters, Disneyland continues to be the ultimate destination for unforgettable memories. Get ready to plan your perfect day at the park and experience the magic like never before. Hello there, I'm Mike and welcome to Theme Park 101. Today, we'll be taking a look at all the rides, shows and attractions found at the original Disneyland Park in Anaheim, California. Don't forget to stick around until the end of the video for a sneak peek at the upcoming 70th anniversary celebration and the exciting new entertainment and attractions that will be added to this incredible
So, Baudrillard used Disneyland to explain how we all people live in hyper real world. He says that Disneyland isn't just a fantasy escape. He argues it serves a deeper purpose for America. What he's saying, Disneyland presents itself as an obvious fake imaginary world of artificial, spaceships, artificial lakes, artificial mountains, pirates, etc. This makes us believe that the world outside its gate, the world outside the gate of Disneyland, everyday America, must be real and true. So it makes us believe that Disneyland is imaginary world and the world outside Disneyland is real world. It tries to create that impression. But Baudrillard argues that the outside world is also simulation. The outside world is also as artificial, as unreal as Disneyland. The outside world is a pre-packaged world of consumerism, media stories, and politics. Disneyland's job is to hide this fact by pretending to be the only fake place. In the simplest word, Disneyland, a fake place that exists to make us believe everything else is real, in fact, which is not real. When actually everything else is just a different kind of fake. Everything else, that is, the world outside Disneyland, is also a different kind of fake. Disneyland is a fun, fake, childish place. This makes the normal world outside. For example, outside the gates of Disneyland, you take whole of America, seem real and serious by comparison, which is not. The outside world is also a fake, a giant, a very big simulation of consumerism, media, and politics. Disneyland's only job is to be the obvious fake. We do not notice that everything else is a fake too. It saves our belief in reality. It makes us believe that there is reality outside. Disneyland exists to hide the fact that the entire rest of the world is just as fake as Disneyland. So, the entire world outside Disneyland, no doubt Disneyland is fake, but even the outside world is also fake. Disneyland exists to hide the fact that the entire rest of the world is just as fake as Disneyland. Most people think Disneyland is fake and the city of Los Angeles surrounding it is real. Baudrillard argues the fact opposite. Disneyland exists to hide the fact that the entire rest of the world is just as fake as Disneyland. By creating a place that is obviously a fantasy, talking mice, plastic castles, pirates, it convinces us that everything outside the gates must be real. If Disneyland is a playground for children, the city outside must be a serious place for adults. It creates that kind of impression. In Baudrillard's view, the adult world, like work, politics, mall, other things, is just as much of a scripted performance as Disneyland, but we use the park as a decoy to save ourselves from realizing the fact, realizing that fact. Disneyland is a stage 3 simulation. It plays at being at an imaginary world. It plays at being an imaginary world to hide the fact that the real has disappeared everywhere else. It acts as deterrence machine. It deters us, that is, prevents us from seeing that Los Angeles, with its movie sets, plastic surgery, scripted social interaction, is no more authentic than enchanted forest. We go to Disneyland to escape reality, but Baudrillard argues that there is no reality left to escape to. Now, Baudrillard is using another example. It is from politics, that is Watergate scandal. So before that, we watch a short clip to understand what exactly it is. It is a political scandal.
The Watergate scandal was a major political scandal in the United States during the early 1970s. It originated from the break-in at the Democratic National Committee headquarters at the Watergate office complex in Washington, D.C. in 1972. What initially seemed like a simple burglary escalated into a widespread scandal as investigations revealed that members of President Richard Nixon's administration were involved in orchestrating and attempting to cover up the break-in. The scandal unveiled a series of unethical and illegal activities, including the abuse of power, obstruction of justice, and the use of government agencies to undermine political opponents. The revelations led to widespread public distrust in the government and ultimately resulted in President Nixon's resignation in 1974, making him the only U.S. president to resign from office. The Watergate scandal.
This Watergate scandal is political scandal. We all know in America there are two parties, one is Republican and another is Democratic. Nixon was the president from Republican Party, and the whole scandal is about misusing power and dominating or undermining the opposition because he wanted to win election for another term, and therefore he was misusing his power, misusing his position, and making use of money in order to win election. This scandal is not just one event; it is a series of events. As in video, it is clearly mentioned. On June 17, 1972, 5 men, actually one of them apparently seemed to be from his political wing. 5 men were arrested while breaking into the Democratic National Committee headquarters. So this is the headquarters of Democratic Party at the Watergate office complex in Washington, D.C. They were there to wiretap phones and steal documents to help Nixon win the upcoming election. The people who broke into that office were linked to Nixon's re-election campaign committee. Nixon didn't necessarily order the break-in. It apparently seems that he did not necessarily order the break-in, but he immediately ordered a cover-up as soon as the event happened. He told the CIA, that is Central Intelligence Agency, to block the FBI's investigation, Federal Bureau of Investigation, by paying huge money to the burglars and lied to public for years. It was revealed later that Nixon had a secret activated taping system in the Oval Office, in his own office. He fought for a year to keep the tape secrets of the meetings that happened in his office. But the Supreme Court eventually forced him to release them. The one of the tapes proved that Nixon had ordered the cover-up. Means he misused the power. He misused his position to cover up just days after the breaking that proved he was a criminal, facing certain impeachment and removal from office. Richard Nixon resigned ultimately on August 9, 1974. He is the only US president ever to resign. Why Baudrillard called this a simulation? Try to understand. This is the event, okay? How Richard Nixon misused his power, how Richard Nixon misused his position, and how huge money was involved in it, and how he wanted to get re-elected. What is Baudrillard's logic of calling this incident a simulation? He isn't saying the break-in didn't happen. He is saying the meaning of the scandal was manufactured illusion. Baudrillard argues that by making a huge public drama out of Watergate, because the opposition party journalist, there was a very huge, big hue and cry outside. Baudrillard argued that by making a huge public drama out of Watergate, that scandal, the system, it's not about only Nixon, the system convinced the public that Nixon was the bad guy. Nixon was the bad man. The law is the good guy. Nixon was the bad guy because the Supreme Court ordered the investigation and made him reveal the tape. But Baudrillard believed that all political power is inherently manipulative and scandalous. If we realize that all politicians were doing things like this, we might revolt against the entire system. And system does not want that the people revolt against the system. System doesn't want people revolt against the system. It makes us believe that some are good and some are bad. But still there is hope. We can better the condition. This hope is given to the people by the system. And this is simulation, Baudrillard claims. What is the simulation strategy? By sacrificing Nixon, the system proved its own honesty because the system made him resign. The system tries to prove its own honesty. It's like a person who admits to stealing a cookie so that no one suspects they actually stole the whole jar. They actually stole the whole jar of cookies. So, stages of simulation we can see how can be applied to Watergate scandal. Stage 1, reflection. As we said, a real crime is caught and punished. Second stage, the focus on Nixon's specific crime masks the fact that entire political structure is built on the same dirty tricks. It makes us believe that some people are good, some people are bad. And stage 3, the scandal hides the absence of real moral difference between the two parties. Absence of real moral difference between the two parties. Whether you take Democrats or whether you take Republicans, they both are the same people, same kind of stuff as far as corruption, morality, or everything evil is concerned. It pretends there is pure version of government to return to. Just as we believe in one party step down if they lose the election, another party takes the place and they prove to be the same stuff. It's like that only. Stage 4, Watergate becomes a brand. It is the original scandal that all future scandal must follow. Why we add gate to everything like bridge gate, deflate gauge, other scandals that take place later on. Okay, they take the suffix gate. It is not just a scripted way for media and government to interact. And the bottom line of the argument is, in traditional history, Watergate is a scandal. In Baudrillard's philosophy, Watergate is a simulation of scandal designed to save the reputation of system that is actually corrupt to its core. We have seen that Watergate was a huge political scandal that showed the system's corruption, but also that journalism could expose it and restore morality. The scandal itself was a simulation. The outrage it created made people believe that there was a clear difference between right and wrong, and that the system of justice was real and working. This hid the deeper truth. That the entire political system is fundamentally a game of power and illusion. The entire political system is like that. The scandal recharged people's faith in a system that wasn't really there. The system was not there. Even if there was a system that was corrupt, all people were scandalous. They just wanted to exploit the people and wanted to be in power. Party does not matter. All politicians were like that. So this is what we can say Disneyland. We saw two examples, one Disneyland and another Watergate. So Disneyland protects the illusion that America is real. But America in fact is not real. Real in Baudrillard's sense. Watergate protected the illusion that the politics has morality. So both these incidents show that there is no reality. These incidents covers up the fact that or creates a kind of illusion in people that America is real. They create the illusion that politics still has morality. To conclude, Baudrillard argues we no longer live in a real world. We live in a world of copies, science, and empty performances that have replaced reality. Reality has been replaced. We live in a state of collective melancholy, endless reproducing hollow signs of power, social life, and reality to distract ourselves from the fact that real versions are gone. The true revolution or change is impossible because any criticism or demand just becomes another plot point in the simulation. We are trapped in a hall of mirrors, acting out script for reality that disappeared, and the only way to see the trap is to realize that the exit is also part of that show. Exit also is part of that show. It will be a part of script for reality. That's it. Thank you.